There's an island in Hawaii where outsiders are not welcome. The natives still live like it's 100 years ago. Diego Garcia is a speck in the Indian Ocean that got turned into a massive military base after the original residents were forced out. As for what goes on there now, it's top secret. And way down near Antarctica, Heard and McDonald Islands are so remote and untouched that unless you're a government scientist with a permit, you're not getting anywhere near them. These are places in the world that are illegal to visit. Heard Island and the nearby McDonald Islands are two of the most remote places on Earth. They're out in the Southern Ocean, about 2,500 miles southwest of Perth, Australia. Officially, they're part of Australian territory, though. They're home to one of the only active volcanoes in Australian territory, Big Ben. And the islands have barely been touched by humans. So they're pretty unique, and it sounds cool to visit, but you can't. These islands are very important from a scientific perspective. They're interested in how things develop here without human beings poking around, and on top of that, the conditions here are pretty extreme, so access to the islands is heavily restricted. There are no airstrips or harbors, and the journey takes weeks by boat through some pretty dangerous waters. Best bet is becoming an ecologist, which I very much do encourage you to get into if you're interested. Yes, you specifically. Other than that, there's satellite imagery. As for what does live here though, well, there's a lot of wildlife. There are seals, penguins, and rare bird species, but setting foot on these islands without authorization, illegal, dangerous, and nearly impossible. Niihau is known as the Forbidden Island of Hawaii, and it definitely lives up to the name, because it's very much forbidden. It's a privately owned island and tourists aren't allowed to step foot on it. The island has been owned by the Robinson family since 1864, and they've worked hard to keep it off limits to outsiders to preserve the traditional Hawaiian lifestyle of the few dozen natives who live here. You can catch a glimpse of it from other islands nearby or boats, but good luck actually seeing it up close. There are a few helicopter tours that can fly near the island, but they're not allowed to land. Because this place is so off limits though, people have started to wonder, could there be something else going on here? A hidden base, secret experiments? Well, probably not, but that's the internet for you. They just like to start rumors. To me though, the real story is interesting as it is. It's an island where people are living without modern technology. There's no gift shops, there's no McDonald's, and the owners and people who live there want to keep it that way. That's pretty cool. Diego Garcia is a small coral atoll in the Indian Ocean, part of the British Indian Ocean Territory. It's home to a major joint US and UK military base, so it's completely off limits to regular people. There aren't even any non-military settlements on the island. Diego Garcia is pretty controversial, not just because it's a restricted military base, but because of how it came to be. In the 60s and 70s, the natives who lived there were forcibly removed to make way for the base. To this day, many former islanders and their descendants are still fighting for the right to return. The United Nations even ruled that the UK should hand the territory back to Mauritius, but so far it hasn't happened. It's right out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and that's exactly why the US military loves it. From there, they can launch operations into the Middle East, Africa, and Asia without anyone watching too closely. So they're not about to give the place up. Plus, some people think there are other things going on here too, like secret prisons or surveillance stations. That's more plausible to me than weird stuff going on in the Hawaiian island. But again, if they don't want you there, you're not gonna see it. So, I mean, who knows? Room 39 is probably one of the most mysterious places on Earth, definitely within North Korea, which is saying a lot. Officially, it doesn't even exist. Unofficially though, it's believed to be the heart of the North Korean government's black money operations. So, counterfeiting, illegal arms deals, illicit substance trafficking, and cybercrime is all said to go on here. The room supposedly operates right under the noses of the elite, maybe even inside a government building in Pyongyang. Unless you're Kim Jong-un though, which I'm gonna assume you're not, then you're not getting anywhere near it. Even most North Koreans don't know much about Room 39. To be fair though, North Koreans aren't really told a whole lot about anything other than the propaganda they're allowed to consume. The place is so secretive that we're not even sure if it's a room, a department, a network of locations. That's how locked down it is. There are no pictures, no official mentions of it, just rumors and some possible leaked intel, but some say Room 39 could be behind some of the world's biggest cyber attacks. Good luck proving any of that though. There's one place you'll probably, hopefully, never visit in your life. It's Room 39. Surtsey Island didn't exist before 1963. Then one day a volcano off the southern coast of Iceland started erupting, and it just kept going for 4 years. By the time it was done in 1967, there was a brand new island sticking out of the sea. It's one of the youngest pieces of land on Earth. Barely anyone's ever been to it. That's not an accident. Surtsey's completely off limits unless you're a scientist with official clearance. They're trying to see how life will begin and evolve here when people just stay out of the way. Even tracking in a seed on your shoe could affect how things progress here, so they really don't want people showing up willy-nilly. Most of what we know about the island comes from studies and documentaries, so yeah, Surtsey's an interesting place, but you're not getting anywhere near it unless you're planning to dedicate your life to studying moss in Iceland in the cold. Good luck with that again. I do encourage you if you're interested though. Just off the coast of Brazil, there's a place you absolutely do not want to visit, Snake Island. Even if you're a snake fanatic, I think you'd be apprehensive about this place. Actually, maybe you'd be especially apprehensive being a snake fanatic because you'd know exactly how dangerous it is. All you really need to know about this place is that it's full of deadly snakes. A ridiculous number of them. Estimates say there's about 1 snake per square meter. Most of them are golden lanceheads, a type of viper that only lives here and nowhere else on Earth. Their venom can melt flesh. Literally, if one bites you, you're probably not making it back to the boat. But why exactly are there so many snakes here? Well, when sea levels rose thousands of years ago, the island got cut off from the mainland. The snakes adapted, mainly because they lost their predators, and eventually the place became a venomous nightmare paradise. So, unless you're a biologist who also has a death wish, Snake Island is not recommended. Just stick to the documentaries. Right between Venice and Lido in Italy's Venetian lagoon is an island called Poveglia. Unless you're into plague pits, this probably isn't exactly a dream vacation spot. The island has a pretty dark history. Back in the 1700s, it was used to quarantine people with the plague. A lot of people, over 100,000, are believed to have died here. Then in the 20th century, someone had the bright idea to build a mental hospital there, right on top of where hundreds of thousands of lonely, sick people died of the plague. Yeah, that's the kind of environment you want to help manage your mental health. And not only was the setting bad, but patients, just like in so many of these types of hospitals at the time, were treated like crap. Things got so bad that patients began turning on the doctors, and one story goes that one jumped or was pushed from the bell tower. Today, what's left are rotting buildings. There aren't even any touristy ghost walks or anything. Even still, people say you can hear screaming coming from the island at night, and supposedly the soil is mixed with human ash. Deep in southern France is a cave filled with ancient paintings, and it's on this list, so no, you can't go inside. The Lascaux Caves are famous for having some of the best prehistoric art ever found. They were discovered by a bunch of teenagers in 1940, and once word got out, tourists started pouring in, which, as you might guess, was a disaster for the paintings. The carbon dioxide and moisture from all the breathing and sweating, visitors started wrecking the walls. Mold even started growing. So by 1963, the French government shut it down. They built a replica nearby called Lascaux 2, which is basically a theme park version of the real thing. It looks close enough, but if you're into the idea of standing in the exact spot where some cave guy painted a deer 17,000 years ago, well, that's not happening, at least not here. If you're thinking of sneaking in to see the real thing, don't. There are cameras, guards, and very expensive fines, and honestly, the replica is close enough, plus you don't have to worry about breathing too hard and ruining 17,000-year-old art. So yeah, ancient art masterpiece, absolutely. Bucket list item, technically, but only if you're cool with the fake version. There's a town in Russia you can't go to. Not because it's dangerous or falling apart or anything like that, it's just off limits. It's called Mezhgorye, and it's one of Russia's closed towns. That means it's not even on most maps. You need very special permission just to get anywhere near it. But why is it closed off? What's actually going on here? good luck getting a straight answer. Officially, it's there to support Mount Yamato, where the Russian government may or may not have built a massive underground facility. But Mezhgorye is heavily guarded, so even if you do happen to find it, you're not just gonna stroll in. The only people who live here are military or work directly for the government, so trying to sneak in would be a really efficient way to get detained, or worse. Russia doesn't mess around with this kind of thing. Right in the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island is North Brother Island. It's technically part of New York City, but unless you're a heron or a government researcher, you're not getting anywhere near it. Back in the day, this was home to Riverside Hospital, a place where they shipped off people with smallpox, typhoid, whatever other contagious diseases they didn't want spreading around the city. Not exactly a place you'd want to visit probably even now. The island's most famous resident, Typhoid Mary. She spent over 20 years there in forced quarantine. Eventually the hospital shut down and the island was abandoned. Nature took over and now the old buildings are crumbling, vines are everywhere, and it looks like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Pretty cool, but you can't go because it's now a protected bird sanctuary, home to a bunch of nesting herons and other wildlife. The NYC Parks Department keeps it sealed off. There's no tours, you can't go on a ghost hunt, there's no sneaking in for TikTok, at least not legally. So yeah, a forgotten hospital, a quarantined typhoid carrier, and a bunch of angry birds, all wrapped in a tiny island you're not allowed to step foot on. Very New York, very off limits. With all that said, I've been your host, James, and I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.